Hi, I'm Vanessa and welcome to my sewing room. Hello! Okay, so today what I decided is it's kind of a slushy rain snow mix today and I'm freezing cold like always. And so what I want to do is take some of my favorite summer patterns and make them a little bit more winter friendly. So here we have the Ellie and Mac Be Dreamy. This is one of their most popular patterns and it's just gorgeous. So any pattern that has a flutter sleeve, what we're going to do today is we're going to switch the the flutter sleeve into a bishop sleeve, because usually with a flutter sleeve you have a circle sleeve that comes right along here, and so we want to make sure that we have a sleeve that's going to fit that opening and then also look really nice with our dresses. So let's get started. Let's talk about the sleeve first. Okay, so the fabric that I'm using, this is a DVP. It has this really beautiful floral pattern. This is from Raspberry Creek Fabrics. They're actually local to me. And if you look at this right here, I think this is a custom print, but I got it for a really good deal. I'm pretty sure this was a summer or spring clearance. But I think it's beautiful, and more importantly, my daughter thinks it's absolutely gorgeous. And so I'm for sure this is a dress that's gonna end up in her closet today. So, okay, so right here, I'm gonna make 2 triangles at the front and 1 at the back. Now, these are the markings of where I need to gather. Now, I'm also gonna put a clip on the front of both of these pieces so I can remember which is the front and which is the back, because we don't wanna mess that up. I do love the bishop sleeves right now. They've been in style for a while and I just think they're so adorable. Now, if you have a gathered shoulder that's more fitted, that will probably work here as well. We're just wanting to have a little give right in this area, so. Okay, I think we're good. So here's our cuff right here as well. So we have 2 sleeves and 2 cuffs and 1 dress ready to go. All right. So we're gonna start our sleeves over at the serger, and we're just gonna line it up and then just serge both of those inside seams of the sleeve. All right, so here we are at my sewing machine and we have both sleeves ready to go. So we need to do some gathering here. So I'm gonna first gather in between those 2 triangles at the top of our sleeve circle. I'm using just a normal straight stitch and I'm elongating it, I think, to probably a 3.5. Now I wanna be sewing on the seam allowance because I'm going to gather it and then I'm going to baste it on the seam allowance and then I'm going to sew on the seam allowance. So that way everything's really nice and I have those really, you know how I am, I want those really nice gathers and not those tucks or those fold overs in my gathers. So I think staying on that seam allowance is going to help me the most. Well, it does help me the most. Hopefully it helps you. So for me, my gather stitch is going to be number 1, and then I'm going to elongate it, and I'm just going to elongate it to a little bit, maybe 3.5. I just find that the 3.5 gives me a lot tighter stitches than at a 5. So usually these are about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna be right here. And then again, I like to back stitch, just 1 stitch. So that way it holds that gather. This is double brush polyester, like I said before, and it has a little bit of a tendency to roll. This is some very high quality DVP, and so it's not as bad as some. Okay, now I'm gonna lift everything. I'm gonna pull it out. That's my iron telling me that it's turning off. Okay, so here we have the front of our sleeve, and we're just going to gently pull. I know a lot of times people do a double row just in case if it's going to break, but on a small project like this, it usually doesn't, I don't have any problems. So sometimes when I do a double line for gathers, it ends up breaking on me anyways. So, all right, so that's what our gathers are going to look like. All right, so here we are just gathering up that second sleeve, and we are just about ready to attach these. Here we go. Here is our 2 gathered sleeves. Okay, so here we have our dress, and we have it inside out. Now we're going to take our sleeves, and I still have the clips marked. So when I put this in here, we're going to have our sleeve turned with our right sides out, and then we just tuck it in. Now, I am going to pin the center seam together right here, and then I'm going to switch over to my other side and get this one tucked in as well. So that way we know that we have both sleeves on the right direction, and we're just lining up the inside seam with the seam of our sleeve, and then we're just going to pin this up. So do you see how that's fitting actually really nicely? That is just the perfect size. So now I'm going to just take that clip that was marking the front of my sleeve, and we're just going to put it right there. And we're going to do the same thing to this other side, making sure that we have our gathers pulled really nice and tight here. And then we're just going to tuck it in. And now we're going to move over to our sewing machine because we just did a gather and we want to baste this on. So let's add this clip. Let's move over. So right here, we're just going to be basting it on that seam allowance again. I want to make sure that my gathers are up here. So I want to make sure that these gathers are what I'm going to be sewing on. So we always want to start at that bottom seam, and we want to make sure that it is still lined up. We do not want serger thread coming out. Here we go. Okay, let's put this on. And again, this is about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so we're going to make sure that we're staying really tight there as well. Now we're going to get everything perfect. Okay, we're ready. Now I'm not back stitching here just in case I need to pick it out or adjust anything. This is our basting stitch, right? So here we are going over that first triangle. Now we're wanting to make sure that we're staying right on those stitches of our gathers, so none of them collapse over. That's the worst, right? When you have a whole heap of gathers that just collapse on themselves. We also don't want any ruffles that are sticking under and creating a hole. So many things to think about, right? Okay, we're just going over this. Okay, I'm gonna work on the other side and then we'll serge these two together. So here we are at the serger, and we're just cutting off that basting stitch and then being extra careful with our gathers. There we go. So here's my bands for my sleeves, and this is really easy. You're going to take it and you're going to fold it over And so what you're looking at right here is how your band will look. Now we're going to put it together and we're going to fold it over. Make sure that all of these line up, and then we're going to just run it through our serger. So we kind of have this nice little sandwich right here. Make sure that everybody's even in our sandwich, especially right here at the top. It's a learning curve trying to see what I'm doing in my camera as well as what I'm doing in my hands. Okay, so we have one down. So with this serger thread, if you don't run it through one more time and pull this down, you can also knot it, but I think it's a little easier just to run it through twice. Now this is where it's magic. We're gonna fold this over and look at how cute this is. So this is gonna really hold, and then this is gonna be our sleeve. So there you have it. Let's do the other one and then we'll attach them. So here we have our gathered sleeves, and we're gonna make sure it's kind of nicely evened. We don't have any of our gathers facing down. That's a big one. If your gather is facing down, you have an instant hole. Okay, so here we have it. Let's pull that a little tighter. And then, this is what we do. You put your hand inside, and then you're gonna pull this and pull this down over. Now we're gonna make sure that our seams all line up. So here's our seam. And we're gonna tuck it in. What's so nice about the band right here is that if it's a little bit, if our gathers are a little bit longer, we can just stretch that band. So the gathering is not as stressful on these bishop sleeves right here as it is at the beginning. Okay, so let's get started. Serging these gathers in. You know what, look at that right there. That is what's bothering me. There we go. Now that I can pull those gathers, now let's begin. So right here, we're gonna be extra careful because if we nick that gathering stitch, it's over. We're gonna have to redo everything. So first we're gonna make sure that our fabric is not rolled under. This is totally one where you can baste it. You're a little nervous because there's a lot at stake here. I feel like when you're having a long day of sewing like I am, you kind of take a little bit more risk near the end. So here's me being risky right here. Normally I'd be like, okay, we're gonna baste this on. By the end, I'm like, we're gonna be careful. We're gonna be careful and make sure we don't nick that gather. Do you see that tuck coming in? We don't want that. Make sure we get that out. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oh, look how beautiful that is. Okay, one more to do. All right, I'm all done. What do you think of these bishop sleeves on this flouncy dress? I don't even think it looks like a hack. It just looks like these sleeves were meant to be on this dress. What do you think? I hope you give this a try. This helps extend your summer patterns into a nice cozy winter dress. Thank you for watching.